Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I am your host, Sybil, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. So grab your pen and paper, grab a great girlfriend, get situated, and let's get into the show. Hey, great girlfriends. It's Sybil here, and I am back with another amazing great girlfriend. I hope you've got your pen and paper ready, because the conversation we're going to have today is about the how-tos of reinvention and the how-tos of overcoming some of the villains in your life and creating the confidence you need right when you need it. So really kind of getting into your process of overcoming. And I'm so excited because my guest today has done just that. I'm going to read from her bio, which I think is so good, so juicy, and then just welcome her right in. So I've got Heather Monahan here, who is the one of few women to shatter the glass ceiling and land in a C-suite. Heather was named one of the most influential women in radio in 2017, which led her company to millions of dollars in revenue, and then it all came crashing down. The unforeseeable happened. She was fired by her new boss. OMG. A single mom and nowhere to turn, Heather had a decision to make. The good news, that firing at age 42 propelled Heather into the next phase of her life, one that inspired her to write her first book at 43, start her podcast at 44, give her first TEDx talk at 45, and be appointed to the board of directors of Healthy Linked and sign with HarperCollins Leadership at 46. Heather reinvented herself, and she can help you listeners do the same. In her new book, Overcome Your Villains, Heather gives readers a step-by-step guide to creating or recreating their career at any age and helps them build the confidence they need to leapfrog the negative people, toxic environments, and obstacles that stand in the way of the happiness and achievement that we all want. Hey, Heather.
Thanks so much for having me.
I am so glad to have you. Let's talk about when it all comes crashing down, Heather. Oh my goodness. That reads like a novel.
Yeah, those aren't the easiest moments, are they?
Certainly not the easy moments. Everyone's excited about the rise. We all look forward to getting up and making it and hitting a moment. And we almost feel like it's a point of arrival sometimes, right?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, when you're in it, even if you just use the example of me getting fired, those moments are crushing in that instance, in that moment, in that day. And, in hindsight, looking back a couple years ago, I can see how everything was meant to happen and how it was a blessing for me. But in that actual day and moment, it's really hard to take a hit like that.
Yeah. My husband is actually working on some investing strategy, and he's talking about how we're so focused on wins that we haven't trained ourselves on how to lose. What happened when you lost, Heather, when that hit, came for you?
Well, like many people, I went under a weighted blanket. If you don't own a weighted blanket, you got to get one. It is so helpful when you have massive anxiety, like when you get fired, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I cried for hours and hours. I was I like to tell people I grabbed a bottle of Chardonnay, not a glass, right? I lost it. And it was, I'm a type A person who's an overachiever. I'm always over delivering. I was winning awards left and right in corporate America. And so it was so unexpected and shocking to me. I think that was the hardest part. I didn't know where to turn and where to go next. And I actually remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've lost everything.
Mm.
And, it was my mind, and I'm sure this happens for a lot of people, when something bad happens, your mind goes to that worst case scenario that, you've
Yeah.
lost everything and it's over and there's nowhere to go from here. And, it
Yeah.
was really debilitating the actual day that it happened. But after about 24 hours, I came to, and I thought, you know what? Nobody's even reaching out to me. I was in this industry for over 20 years. That's really weird.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and I figured out, this woman isn't announcing that she fired her chief revenue officer. Nobody knows. And
Mm.
so I decided to do something a little different. I decided to post online, I have just been fired. And
Mm.
if I've ever done anything to help you, I need to hear from you today. And that post went
Wow.
viral, and it just opened up so many opportunities for me. It was a game changer.
What do you think it was about that post that really resonated with people?
Most people don't rock that they got fired, right?
Exactly,
Most
right? Yeah.
people, I did the opposite of what most people would do. And you know what? I had a lot of people that love me call me and say, take that post down. You look really pathetic. You know,
Wow.
they were putting their own self limitations on me, right? They wouldn't have
Exactly.
posted that. And
Mhm.
I decided to really tune into my inner voice and ask myself, do I feel pathetic? And I thought, no, I'm not happy I got fired, but it's not like I stole money or killed somebody, right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
do anything wrong. The woman that took over the company just didn't like me and I wasn't the right fit for her. So I felt proud of the job that I had done. So there was no shame in my opinion. And
Mhm.
I decided to reframe it. Actually, I Googled who is very successful that has been fired. And it turns out Steve Jobs, J.K. Rowling, Mark Cuban, Oprah Winfrey, right? The list goes on of
Yeah,
incredibly successful people. So I decided to look at it as getting fired means you're in good company.
that's right. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. And I'm sure now we can thank her for what was a very painful entree into a new world, because now look at how you've managed to overcome your villains. What were your villains at that time?
Well, obviously the woman that I was working with for 14 years that just, she couldn't stand me. And that was obvious. She was very passive aggressive to me in work, like a lot of people in corporate America can be, right? Never coming right out and hitting me or attacking me publicly, but
Mhm.
always very subtle, negative comments, dirty looks, inappropriate,
Mhm.
backhanded remarks that other people would never hear, ignoring emails, ignoring me in public, just really passive aggressive behavior. And over a long period of time, that wears away at you. And for me, that really started eroding my confidence because I started questioning, maybe I should start behaving differently. Maybe that will elicit a different response out of her. Maybe I shouldn't
Mhm.
speak up so much, right? So I kind of dialed my light down for
Mhm.
a while.
Mhm.
And that obviously is not helpful. And if you're in a situation like that where you have to adjust who you are to make other people feel happy, you're in the wrong room. And that's
That's
what I've
right.
realized now.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of us spend a large portion of our life in the wrong room. And, I feel like those moments, that time that we invest into pleasing other people and trying to accommodate and, making do, it eats away at our confidence when it's time for us to really stand up and represent our truth in the right rooms. And so
Yes.
I love that you kind of disrupted that whole notion of like your confidence being stolen from you by really owning the narrative. I think it's so important for women to take ownership of their narrative, and be able to see the turnaround, the pivots that are essential. And so, I know you have a process for overcoming villains. I know that there's 3 steps, and I don't know them all, but I know that with us, me grabbing my pen and paper, and all of our great girlfriends out there listening, grabbing our pen and paper, someone's probably facing a villain that they need to overcome today, or rewrite their narrative, or increase their confidence. And so we're ready to jot, Heather, what we need to
Okay.
do to get started.
You got it. So, my new book, Overcome Your Villains, outlines the 3-step, powerful, proven process to allow anyone to overcome any adversity in business or in life. And the process it's called my BACK process, which stands for beliefs, actions, and knowledge. And I'll give you, my own real world example of how it worked. So for me, let's go to a challenge I was having, getting fired, right? That's a legitimate challenge. So
Absolutely.
when I got fired, the first step is dismantle your beliefs, right? So the belief I held when I was able to come to and really, stop crying for a moment was I've lost everything. Well, when you
Yeah.
dismantle that belief, you have to break it down to the most simplistic truth or fact that resides within that belief. And what you'll find often is there's zero fact or truth to it, which is great. But on this one, when I dismantled that belief, I've lost everything, I broke it down to I didn't lose my health. I didn't lose my family. I didn't lose my friends. I didn't lose my network. I didn't lose my expertise. I didn't lose my unique value proposition. I mean, the list, I didn't lose my credibility. The list went
Mm.
on and on and on of things I didn't lose. The
Yeah.
one thing I actually did lose was a paycheck. And so once I distilled it down to I didn't lose everything, I
Mhm.
lost one thing and it's a paycheck. And I've gotten paychecks from other places before. I was able to lift some of that pressure off of myself, right? So that's step one, is dismantle those beliefs, those self-limiting beliefs, down to the most simplistic fact or truth that you can find. And even better, when you realize that oftentimes there is zero truth or fact to it. The next step, which is imperative, is you must take action immediately to move yourself forward. So in my situation, I dismantled the belief I've lost everything down to the one that I've lost a paycheck. And the action step I immediately took was I put a post up on social media asking for help. And that's when Froggy from the Elvis Duran show tweeted at me, hey, if there's anything I can do, just say the word. And I tweeted right back, get me on the show. And he did. And
Wow.
so, that's this first two steps is, number one, beliefs, number two, action, and number three is knowledge. And so I hopped on a plane and headed to New York City to go on the Elvis Duran show, not having any idea what I was going to say, but I knew if I want to get new opportunity, I have to reach outside of the current circle that I've been living in. Elvis Duran has
Yes.
a huge radio show, right? I'd reach new people that I had never met before. I had never met Elvis before. So this could be, I didn't know if it would be, but it could be. It has the potential to offer a new opportunity.
That's
So of
right.
course, I was scared and I jumped on the plane and I went anyways. I decided to see fear as a green light that means go and go faster. And
Yes.
halfway through that interview, Elvis, who's an amazing human being, said to me, well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book. But I wasn't, right? I had never
Yeah.
even thought about writing a book. It just hadn't crossed my mind. I had always seen myself in the sales lane, in the leadership lane, in the corporate America lane. That's all I saw available to me. But in that one moment, this man literally changed the trajectory of my life and my career by opening up that possibility to me and speaking with it with conviction into me. So I grabbed hold of his conviction, his concept and idea. I jumped on a plane, headed back to Miami, and I Googled, how do you write a book? And so this is the third, part of the process: beliefs, action, and knowledge. Knowledge is all about intentionally, which is the important word here, intentionally accessing knowledge from people who have been where you want to be. Meaning Elvis
Yes.
Duran was light years ahead of me in success, right? He was light years ahead of me in regards to his career, the successful journey he had been on. So getting around someone like him and having him speak a truth and a conviction into me, that knowledge that I accessed from him that day changed my life. Right.
That's
And it
right.
seems really simple, but so often we get in a rut of calling our mother to ask for advice or calling an old friend from high school. And that might be the right person to talk about if you're having relationship problems, but probably not the right person to talk about business opportunities or career trajectory, right? So
That's
get
right.
really mindful about, where are you accessing your knowledge, and has that person been where you want to go?
That's so good. It's so, 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 so good. I think it's so important. This is what's so many things that are special about this story. And one of them is that it sounds like he has the ability to see you not where you are, but where you're capable of going. And
Mhm.
when you can have proximity to a person who can actually have vision and be able to impart that, my God, what a gift, right? And so one thing I've learned, Heather, I think that you speak to so highly is the importance of the proximity and really taking an account of who's speaking into you and what they're saying and at what time. You mentioned earlier that some of your close friends who love you dearly said, "Girl, take that down. Like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
This looks
Mhm.
crazy." But you had to look crazy in this season of your career to get radical, and your next radical move was contingent upon you being willing to step out of their boxes and your boxes at that very specific moment, which then led you to having that moment with Elvis Duran, which led you to believing in the possibility of writing a book, which has then propelled you even further to do your TED talk and have other career strengths and milestones that you're so proud of. So what have you learned about the power of um, proximity to the right people at the right time?
It's one of the most important things. It's equally as important to make sure that you fire those villains from your life, right? So one
Yeah.
interesting thing that I learned was I was running alongside a woman that hated me for 14 years. I knew it, right? We all knew it at where I worked. It was very clear she did not like me. She didn't want to be around me. But what I didn't realize was that day that she thought she fired me, I had actually fired my number one villain from my life. And what happened because of that was game changing. I removed a negative person from my inner circle. And when that woman was gone, a flood of positive people started showing up that I truly believe were never had the ability to have access to me before, because I was blocked by that woman's negativity. So not
Yeah.
only is it important to say, okay, who are the people that I'm running with? Who are the people I'm surrounding myself with? It's also really important to say, who are the people I need to get rid of to open up some opportunity for more positive people to start coming in.
Oh, yes, girl. Yes, girl. Yes. That's all I can say to that. Yes, girl, yes. There's another piece in there too, Heather. A lot of times we can get stumped being know-it-alls. What we know, we think we know enough and we think we're sufficient. So then when something is out of our sphere of knowledge, we think it's not for us. And oftentimes we stop right where we are. And what I heard you say twice was that you didn't know, therefore you Googled. You didn't know, and you Googled. You were open to the idea that there was more. Like that big question that I heard you asking yourself was, okay, what else? And, I feel like it's so important for us as, not even as just as women, but as humans to really open ourselves up, and that pursuit of knowledge and that quest for knowledge kind of fueled your ambition a bit more, right? So, how did you tell yourself that there's no limit to age? The 40s are the sweet spot, and I'm going to go do it.
I didn't say that. I mean,
What
it
did you
was
say?
more, you know, it it was more this kind of weird fumbling around in the dark. But going through
Mm.
that whole not knowing, right? Because I went from an arena in corporate America that in my, I had over 20 years doing the same thing. So beyond competence, I had confidence in my job, right? And
Right.
everything seemed very well lit. I knew when the next quarterly meetings were. I knew what the budget expectations were. I knew what the process looked like. I knew what that next advancement would look like. So everything was so clear. Suddenly I found myself in a really dark space where what's the next step you take? I don't know, right? It was the opposite of where I had been. And that felt really scary. And so going from such polar opposite situations was incredibly hard at first. Now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, it's become my new norm. Like anything, you can adjust to
Yeah.
anything once you get in the rhythm, build the momentum. And I had to build the momentum saying, I don't know what action step I'm going to take next. I know I need to take action because that's critical to moving forward. I'm going to make some mistakes and I'm just going to have to be okay with it. And what I realized is successful people don't know the how, but they trust in themselves that they will figure it out along the way. And that's the
Yeah.
trust that I ended up developing in myself.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. Yeah. Yeah. So what you learned is that, the success that you were the success, it wasn't necessarily your corporate, it wasn't the corporate arena, it was the person. You actually built the construct. Like, yeah, that same construct was transferable to this new stage of life, which I think is so great because so many times we get tied into the idea that we're only successful in one place, in one lane,
Mm-hmm.
at one company doing one thing. And truth of the matter is, that ability to see those attributes and appropriate them in another lane is just as important.
Oh, absolutely. And, for anyone listening right now, pick your head up out of your company, pick your head up out of your industry and start looking at what your unique value proposition is and where else it could be valued. Because for me, I wasn't. I had my head down in the company. I had my head down in the radio business, the media business. I wasn't looking or investigating outside of that. And because of that, I cost myself millions of dollars. And let me share with you what I mean by that. I had spoken my entire career in corporate America, but we didn't pay speakers. It was just if you're an executive at a company, you were required to speak for different events. And so I would always have people say to me, wow, you're an amazing speaker. Oh, you're so lucky. And I think, oh yeah, whatever, who cares? You don't get paid for it. It's not like I could ever do something with this. It's just part of my job. And it's interesting because I didn't pick my head up out of my industry. I didn't realize there's a multi-billion-dollar speaking business that
Mhm.
pays speakers, millions of times a year and looks for people who have the ability to speak. It took me getting fired and getting pushed out of that lane to write the book, to Google, how do you sell books? And it said speak. And I thought, oh, that's easy. I've been doing that for 20 years. I started cold calling companies and hey, can I come in and speak for you? Hey, can I come in and speak? I've got a new book. And finally, one day, someone said to me, sure, what's your speaker fee? And I Googled speaker fees, and that was the day I saw Gary Vaynerchuk getting paid $350,000 for a 60-minute speech.
Mm-hmm.
And my jaw just dropped. And I thought, what else do I not know? I should have been in this business 20 years ago, not in that
Yeah.
radio media business. Why didn't I know this opportunity existed? And I promise you, for anyone listening, there are other opportunities in your world that you are not aware of yet. So pick your head up, start speaking to people in different industries, and start seeing where your unique skill set and value could be valued more than it currently is being.
Yeah, that is so good. So absolutely true. And when you said, that those millions were lost, I understood completely those missed opportunities, but I love
Mm-hmm.
that you um just ask yourself, how the best way to figure things out and to research it and to know that, you know, with your same expertise and your same knowledge, you're able to appropriate that wherever you go and that value is never lost. I think a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
you know, we tie so much value to our environment. And when we shift environments, we don't feel that we bring the value to the room. And so that really takes a knock, or hits our confidence. And so that's that other piece to you is, I feel like every time what I'm hearing, this is just my hearing now, Heather, and I've been paying close attention as you talk, but every time that you've made these shifts, you've been able to, build the momentum, and it really helps to fuel your confidence in knowing, okay, if I can shift here, I can shift again. I can make the adjustments here, I can make the adjustments there. What are some of those winning conversations you're having with yourself?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. Those, and even before I started finding success on my own, I started looking back to the beginning of my career in corporate America as indicator that I could succeed out of it. Meaning I
Yeah.
remembered, hey, you didn't start out on top. You didn't start out with 20 plus years experience and expertise. You started out as a rookie. I didn't know what I was doing day one when I was selling radio on the streets of Worcester, Massachusetts. I just knocked on doors and said, I'll figure it out. I'll try. And I thought, you've got to get yourself back into that mentality to say, okay, I found success at the top of the hill, but I started at the bottom. I'm starting at the bottom again, but I have that potential within me, right? I'm going to lean on that past experience to say this could happen too. And that's really stepping outside of yourself and coaching yourself to say, having that conversation alone, that hard conversation. You have done this before. I know it feels scary and uncomfortable right now, and you haven't been uncomfortable in a long time, but you can go back to who that person used to be and you can build it again, and that was really the conversation I kept having with myself was, don't give up. You don't know how close you are. And that's what I want to share with everybody listening is you'll never know how close you are if you quit. And that's why so many people give up when they were just about to make it, or it was,
Yeah.
just about to be that next product launch or concept or idea or partnership. There's so much opportunity out there if you continue to step into it.
That's right. That's so good. Okay. So where can we grab this book, Heather? And then how can everyone keep up with you going forward to send you notes or messages, even just to support you in your journey?
Well, my book is called Overcome Your Villains, and it's available anywhere books are sold. The reviews are amazing. And if you go to overcomeyourvillains.com, you can also get the bonus bundle that I'm offering for free when you enter your purchase order. So check it out. It is so worth your while. My social media is at Heather Monahan. You can follow me. I'm on all social media platforms. Send me a DM, or you can go to my podcast, Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan, and always leave me a question and I'm happy to answer them on air.
I love that. Heather, I have one last question for you. What is one thing that you do daily that really helps that you can say really helps to keep you on track and moving forward in life? Like what is that? What is one thing you do every day?
I mean, I every single day I have a to-do list, right? And I write it out at the beginning of the month. I update it each week. I update each day, and I cross things off every single day. I never get through my full list, but it's all about those action steps that I'm taking
Yeah.
and continuing to add, because new things pop up and new ideas pop up, and a friend jumps up and says a message, hey, can you jump on a call? I want to, so there's always new things being added, and there's different things that I'm accomplishing. But I'm big into those action steps and writing new action steps down, writing down new ideas that I'm going to go after, and then crossing off the ones that I've already accomplished.
Oh my God, the feeling, the cross off, like that moment, it's just
Yes.
like, oh my
For
gosh.
the win.
It does everything. Like it just makes you want to write more because you're like, I did it, I did it. Yeah, it's such an accomplishment. I
Yes.
love it. I too have a daily running list, and I don't know. I feel like when the days that I'm off track, I look down and I have not put that list for the day. I just kind of jumped into the day and got all scattered, and I had to reset and stop. Let me capture the afternoon. What are my outcomes? Because I don't want to,
Hmm.
lose the rest of the day to just confusion, or just responding to other people. So I thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that. That's so good. It's been so great to have you. Great girlfriends. I can't wait to hear your reviews on this book. Do send us an email to say how much you've loved Heather's episode and continue to support her journey and take every single nugget and move into gear, because I feel like Heather's saying to us, if she can do it, we can do it too.
Absolutely. You know it.
Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at _Great GFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.